Yeah.
So let's shift gears. You've said, we've heard predictions for well over a year now, because this investigation by Bob Mueller has gone on for some time, as you know better than anyone. And we've heard, well, it's going to be done by Thanksgiving, it's going to be done by the end of the year. What's your ultimatum for this?
My ultimatum is put up or shut up, Bob. I mean, you know, what do you have? There are those of us who believe you don't have anything on collusion. And by the way, if you did, it's not a crime. So what the heck are you doing? Do you have anything that shows the President of the United States was involved in a conspiracy to hack the DNC with Russia? Of course you don't. But if you do, put out a report or give it to the Justice Department. Let them review it, make sure it's not classified or whatever. Put out a report. We're ready to rebut it. I have the report ready for 2 months. We can show. No, we can.
We've heard Mueller might be coming out in February. Is that what you're hearing, or what's your sense?
I mean, oh gosh almighty! First he was coming out in March, and then in May, and then he go. We're in now the 4th degree of separation from the non-crime collusion. Mm-hmm. We went to the non-crime obstruction of justice. That didn't work out for him. So then he moved on to campaign contributions, which, by the way, are not violative of the campaign finance law. You can pay a judgment or a claim against you. That's not a campaign expense. The Edwards case determined that. That's another non-crime they're investigating. And then they're looking at now the Russia tower. Mm-hmm. Well, they should go to Moscow. There is no tower. It didn't get built. It didn't get beyond a non-binding letter of intent, which is like a wish. And so, okay, Bob, let's forget those other three. What do you got on? What do you have on collusion?
Exactly.
If you don't have a darn thing on collusion, the whole thing is a phony.
Well, recently you've said the president will not speak to Bob Mueller over your dead body.
Well, you know why?
Still say conversations are ongoing.
Because of their unethical behavior. I mean, or grossly negligent behavior. All those texts of Strzok and Page deleted after they find out that Strzok is texting that he hates Trump, that he's going to get him, that he's going to stop him, and if he can't stop him, he has an insurance policy to get him out of office. I believe Mueller is the insurance policy to get him out of office.
Well, they said it's a technical
I'm not
glitch.
just saying that. Strzok was his first investigator. How is it that the ones eliminated are all the ones that he did when he was working for Mueller?
Right.
All of a sudden, they wipe out his phone, and the ones missing are the ones when he was working for Mueller. Why? Because just maybe it would be very embarrassing if he was saying the same things while working for the holier-than-thou special counsel. And he was saying, I hate Trump. I'm going to get Trump. We're going to get him any way we have. We're framing Flynn. We're not going to tell him he has a right to counsel. And Comey approved that. Comey even said, I wouldn't have gotten away with that with a more experienced administration. We're going to trap him. We got a statement. He's going to contradict it. We're not going to show him the statement to refresh his recollection. I don't know. That could all be there.
So these are 19,000.
The person who determined what to eliminate, unless this is a lie, was his records officer, Mueller's records officer, who says that there was nothing of interest there. It's hard to believe that Strzok and Page all of a sudden decided, we're not going to tweet anymore, or we're not going to text anymore about Donald Trump. They seem to be obsessively, compulsively texting about him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what kind of lovers they were if they were texting about that all the time. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. That's terrible. But I mean, this is ridiculous. If this happened on the other side, can you imagine if he asked us for very relevant texts and we said, oh, we had them, but we just, we eliminated them, part of our record keeping. We just eliminated the text between the president and 25 Russians.
And these are 19,000 we've never seen and will now never see.
As far as I can tell, I mean, I'm hoping there's a way to reproduce them. But I mean, texts only last for a little bit. They're not like emails. I do this work, cybersecurity work, and texts are hard to get. I mean, that's legitimate.
You recently said accepting stolen property is not a crime anyway in another interview. And some thought you were opening the door to the idea that stolen property in the form of hacked emails may have been accepted by the Trump campaign. And that no. Here, it's a First Amendment issue, right? It isn't a stolen property. I mean, it is stolen property, but it has a different nature when it's information. So let's take the Pentagon Papers. Pentagon Papers were stolen property, weren't they? They were stolen from the Pentagon. Given to the New York Times and the Washington Post. Nobody went to jail, the New York Times and the Washington Post. We've had revelations during the Bush administration. Abu Ghraib prison.
Yeah, Abu Ghraib. All of that is stolen property. It's taken from the government against the law. Once it gets to a media publication, they can publish it. They can publish it for the purpose of informing people. Well, you can't put Assange in a different position than that. He was a guy that communicated. We might not like what he communicates, but he was a media facility. He was putting that information out. Every newspaper station grabbed it and published it.
But there was not coordination, you're saying, between the Trump campaign and WikiLeaks?
None. I was with Donald Trump day in and day out for the last 4 months of the campaign. He was as surprised as I was about the WikiLeaks disclosures, sometimes surprised to the extent of, oh, my God, did they really say that? We were wondering, is it true or not? They never denied it. The thing that's missing here is the thing that really got Hillary is not so much that they were revealed, but they were true. She actually had people as bad as that, and she really was cheating on the debates. She really was getting from Donna Brazile the questions beforehand. She really did completely screw Bernie Sanders. Every bit of that was absolutely true. Just like the Pentagon Papers put a different view on Vietnam, this put a different view on Hillary Clinton and prevented the country from getting a president who was deeply flawed. Not right to hack, still a crime. People who did it should go to jail. But no press person or person disseminating that for the purpose of informing did anything wrong.
All right, it's equal time. Scaramucci was just here saying the Mets are winners. What say you about the Yankees?
Good luck.
Easiest line of all time.
You know the Mooch is a good friend. I love the Mooch. And I have a lot of Met friends who are good friends of mine, even relatives. And I have a deep pity for them. I feel sorry for them, and I love the Mets and the National League. I root for them, and I feel sorry for the Met fans, but hey, you can't beat 27 world championships.
Mr. Mayor, happy New Year.
But only 2.
That's true.
We'll have to leave on that note. I like it. Happy New Year.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year, Mayor.
I will bring in Robert Driscoll of past DOJ fame and also the attorney for Maria Butina, the Russian agent who just pled out. Get a little more insight from you on this. Rudy Giuliani, is the president's defense attorney. He can sort of want whatever he wants from Robert Mueller, but can't really force the hand, can he?
Yeah, I'm reminded by, I think it was Kelly who said, the enemy gets a vote as to when the war ends. He can want it, but he's not really in control. It'll end when Mueller says it ends.
This is Rudy Giuliani also this morning on Fox and Friends sort of issuing the ultimatum. Take a listen. We'll get your thoughts.
My ultimatum is put up or shut up, Bob. I mean, what do you have? There are those of us who believe you don't have anything on collusion. And by the way, if you did, it's not a crime. So what the heck are you doing? Do you have anything that shows the President of the United States was involved in a conspiracy to hack the DNC with Russia? Of course you don't.
Have you seen anything?
I mean, he's right from a public perspective, but that's kind of meaningless because you don't know what Mueller has. He's doing what a good defense lawyer would do. He's trying to press for the end of the case. But, I mean, he's, in some sense, it's a bluff because he doesn't know what Mueller has. So he's just saying, you don't have anything, I haven't seen anything, and come up with it. And Mueller may or Mueller may not.
One thing that Mueller has, at least appears to have been very strategic in, number one, is not leaking out of his office. It's unbelievable how tight they have kept things. But two, there are all these little crumbs in all of these filings, much of which are redacted, but then there's these key points. How close does it appear to you that Mueller has gotten to the inner circle of Trump world in this sense?
It is very hard to judge that. And I think that lawyers who do are at great peril because this case isn't going to end in an indictment of the president, as we know, because you can't indict the president under DOJ rules. And where it's going to end in a report, a lot of the tea leaves we would normally read, you can't read in this case. So, for example, the fact that people are having sentencings usually wouldn't sentence cooperators until they were done cooperating in a trial. So in a normal case, you'd say, well, they're sentencing the cooperators, the principal's off the hook, but you can't conclude that here because the end result may be a report to Congress, not an indictment in a trial. They may not need any, Flynn or Manafort or anyone to testify at a trial. They just may need their statements in a report. So it's very hard to judge the normal, and I think a lot of the kind of classic analysis that goes on misses that point, that Mueller's doing a very different task here. He's finishing a report, not necessarily leading to an indictment.
It seems as though it's very clear he's still in the evidence gathering stage. We know about this Supreme Court case about which there is unbelievable secrecy, sealed subpoenas, and then clearing floors of courthouses when they have arguments about it, and now written arguments due to the Supreme Court tomorrow. Is there anything to read into that?
Again, it's impossible other than speculation. I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind is appellate courts, particularly the Supreme Court, are much more interested in jurisdictional issues than either the public or lower courts. And so when you have a foreign government and a foreign-owned entity, there's a question of whether there's U.S. jurisdiction. Whatever was in that briefing, Chief Justice Roberts saw something that caught his eye and wants to hear a little bit more. But I think it's hard to know whether that's a banking issue or whether it's something else.
Either way, it does show you, though, that this isn't over yet, right? I mean, this seems to indicate the opposite of what Rudy Giuliani's Christmas wish is.
Right. I mean, there's still clearly some threads to pursue. You know, some things are hinting that it could be over in the medium term. It'll be 2 years in March, I think. That may be a goal that a special prosecutor might set. But I just don't think you can. I mean, there's still active litigation going on because obviously, if these documents get turned over from country A, what's in them, and does that
where does that lead? All right, we may not even know whether they get turned over or not, considering how much secrecy surrounds that. All right, arguments due. I think it's by 5 p.m. tomorrow, so we'll see what is unsealed on that. Mr. Driscoll, always good to see you, Counselor.
Good to see you.
All right.